Let's see if this works. There we go. Welcome everybody. Welcome to the first episode of The Salt Mine. This is something that I've been wanting to do for a while. Thank you for joining me. And basically what this show is going to be about is myself and possibly in the future guests. We'll be talking about issues close to my heart and probably your heart as well. And for me personally, this week we're going to be talking about World War II games and their resurgence in recent months, and and in the future we'll be doing other episodes on other things gaming related. So this week, like I say, is World War II comeback. What do you guys think of it? Do you think there is a case for a World War II comeback? Is it valid? To begin with, we have Days of War, Battalion 1944, Gates of Hell, as well as Battlefield 5, Eastern Front. Now, let's start off with the Battlefield field game. We don't know if this game is going to be set in World War II, but it is called Eastern Front, which makes me think it possibly is. There has been a lot of people clamoring on the Call of Duty Facebook pages, as well as on the Battlefield Facebook pages and other social media, that they want a return to World War II style games. And as you can see in the bottom left hand side, I've put down some evidence there of those comments, and you can see on how many likes they have received. Just gives you an idea of how many people really want this genre to make a comeback. So, has the chat got any questions? What do you guys think? What do you feel like what will happen in the near future? Do you think there will be a competitive scene for World War II games in the near future? I mean, you've got Counter-Strike Global Offensive right now and Call of Duty, which are really the two top dogs when it comes to esport, where the FPS games that have the limelight right now. But how long is that going to last for? Like I say, people aren't enthralled by the people jumping around on walls and flying around and these futuristic weapons and abilities that just don't make any sense. People just want it turn to realism, turn to something they know and love. And I really do think that we will have a return back to the World War II franchise. Further proof of this is that both Battalion 1944 and Days of War, both Kickstarters on Kickstarter, have received over 300% funding. So let me just show you these results here. As you can see with these next two pictures, you can see the bottom right hand side of those images there that both games have received a massive amount of funding from the public, and it's very promising. And with 300% secured, those games are definitely on their way to becoming something special. So let's start you guys off on Battalion 1944, and bear with me a moment while I get this around, and here we go.
Battalion 1944 is a World War II multiplayer first-person shooter coming to PC, Xbox One and PlayStation 4. Battalion recaptures the core of classic multiplayer shooters, utilising the most advanced industry technology to propel World War II into the next generation of video games. Battalion gives gamers a visceral and heart-thumping experience, crafted by designers who've grown up playing games like Medal of Honor and Call of Duty 2.
It just seems like the right time because it's something we want to play and something that doesn't exist, so why wouldn't you just make it?
We want to design a game that goes back to what we wanted when we were kids, the things we were playing that we were enjoying. In Call of Duty 2 we had these tight maps that were really good for like close quarters, gritty combat, that really worked with the Thompson and with Kar 98s, with one-shot rifles. That stuff all came together so well. But we have a team that's ready to take on the challenge of building a World War II shooter.
We're comprised of ex-AAA developers, ex-modders, and ex-esports professionals.
We're using the combined talent of our in-house and freelance artists to create the most authentic, down-the-barrel experience of World War II using the power of Unreal Engine 4.
We've been working with Unreal Engine from the start, so that means that we're ready. We're ready for anything new that is going to come in, like DirectX 12 and all of the foliage features.
I think players will find it refreshing that they're experiencing things that they've experienced as a child or perhaps have nostalgia about, but they're experiencing it in beautiful high fidelity. I think the technology has moved on so much in the past 10 years. Things look beautiful now in a way that they didn't before.
Authenticity is at the heart of Battalion, from weapons to environments to sounds. Being here in Normandy, we've built up a huge library of reference material, from small things like the sound a Thompson actually makes when you run out of ammunition, all the way to taking reference photos of Saint-Mère-Église. Being able to see Saint-Mère-Église before you design a level around it gives us a huge design advantage. It gives players a more authentic World War II experience, which ultimately is what we want. When we animate our soldiers using mocap, it makes Battalion's animations more genuine, authentic, and just way more real. Not many World War II games have used this technology before. Not many game artists are given the opportunity to visit the actual places that their levels take place in a game. There's something very tangible about it. It sounds strange, but being able to take your environments to sort of the next level of authenticity, it's something players might not notice, but when you're doing something like physically based rendering like we are, it really takes the whole visual fidelity of the game to the next level.
We want to create a fair battleground with dedicated servers, anti-cheat software, solid netcode, balanced weapons, and great asymmetric map design.
Battalion's maps are designed around our skill-based infantry combat. The maps will be based on real-world locations, such as Carentan, Hurtgen Forest, Bastogne, and Saint-Mère-Église, just to name a few.
One aspect missing from most modern FPS games is there's something we saw in classic shooters, such as Call of Duty 2, Counter-Strike, and Day of Defeat, is that those games took raw skill to master, to be good at, and they didn't rely as much on time playing. We're stripping out unbalanced unlocks, overpowered abilities, just to try and reinstate the fun and the skill in the game.
Players will be able to add individuality to their characters and weapons in multiple ways. For instance, gun engraving, custom clan insignias, and uniform customization, all within Battalion's authentic World War II style. These unlocks offer no gameplay breaking advantages, but will instead offer unique visual modifications.
We have this epic down-the-barrel experience that can only really be made by the game designers who grew up playing Medal of Honor, United Offensive, and Enemy Territory.
We want to make maps that favour all kind of ranges and actually make it so that you have to play that map to your style.
To give backers opportunity for feedback, we'll be live streaming development meetings and playtests, and providing regular updates to keep you in the loop.
If you want to play a classic World War II shooter that's being made for the modern generation, now is the time to support the development of Battalion 1944 by pledging towards our Kickstarter campaign. Please take a look at our numerous backer rewards and feel free to visit our social media pages via our website at battalionGame.com.
And there you guys have it, Battalion 1944. Switch back over to the scene, hopefully it'll work. There we go. So yeah, Battalion 1944, guys. What do you think of it? So they have been pledged, they've had 10,000, over 10,000 backers, with a total raised sum of £317,000. That's a huge amount of money being put towards this game. So out of the 3 games, apart from the Battlefield game that we don't really know yet, that's going to be a World War II shooter. It hasn't been released. It is called Eastern Fronts, as we've said before, but we just don't know. But Battalion 1944 has the most funds towards it, whereas the Day of War one has much less. I think it's about just over $68,000 raised for that one. Battalion 1944 does look the better game, obviously, because they've got that more funding. The trailers for Battalion 1944 look a lot cleaner, sharper. The modeling looks great. The fact that the way they're going with the game as well, like they give you gravings and customizations which make it unique to you, and it doesn't give you a competitive advantage within the game itself, which I think is a great idea. Yeah. So we also have a pie chart here that I would like you guys show you here. So this was a YouTuber called Jack Frags, I believe, and he did a pie chart asking for World War II games, and asking what his audience would like to see from the Battlefield franchise in the future. And as you can see here, 53% of voters out of about 55,000 people voted for the World War II genre of game. You know, that's over half, man. Look, you know, and all the others don't even come close to that. So, you know, if people think that the World War II, people just don't want it. I know that they're seriously mistaken. People want this. People really want a return to World War II games, and you know, with all this support, this is looking really bright for possibly like either Battalion 1944, Days of War becoming the next big competitive FPS in the near future. So let's show you the video now for Days of War. If you've not seen it yet, here you go. If you guys play Dare Defeat Source, you would recognize this map. I believe this is Dare Defeat, a very famous map from Dare Defeat. Here's the second trailer now for you.
Welcome to Days of War. Days of War is a next-generation, online World War II shooter, and it's releasing in 2016.
I love World War II games. I've been playing them for the last 15 years of my life. And I've been waiting for one of the classics to get remade. And it never happened. So we decided 2 years ago that we would do it ourselves.
We at Driven Arts set out to build a successor to the World War II games we played endlessly growing up. Something about ordering drone strikes from iPads just feels a little impersonal. Unreal Engine 4 and physically based rendering have allowed us to bring this period in history to a level of fidelity never seen before. We think this attention to detail is what adds that human touch to the game, so it makes you feel like you're back in World War II.
Set out to build Days of War with one simple goal: fast, competitive gameplay. And that means everything from ensuring that our animations don't interfere with player control, making sure that skill is what always comes first. It means testing all of our weapons to make sure that they have exactly the right feel. They need to feel weighty yet balanced.
For the last 2 years, a team of artists, animators, sound designers, and programmers have lent their time, but more importantly their passion, to create a game that we're really proud of and we're really excited to share with you.
But we see this as only just the beginning. Because we're not just trying to remake the classics, we're dreaming a little bigger.
What was missing from the classic World War II shooters was a vibrant modding community. We want to empower you, the players, to download the same tools that we use and join us in building Days of War.
We've got a whole laundry list of things we want to do with this game, but we're more curious to know what you, our backers, want. To us, that means giving you the tools to not only create your own maps and environments and design your own game modes. It means sourcing new ideas from our players, turning them into real features quickly.
Our primary goal, and the primary goal of this Kickstarter, is to get Days of War into your hands as soon as possible. Your pledges aren't going to an idea that may or may not be here in 2 years. They're going to the final stages of development in Days of War. That means investing in things like content, like maps and character models. It means things like hiring community managers to make sure that your input gets seen and validated. It means investing in technologies like servers and anti-cheat software and stat tracking to make sure that the game is as reliable and as fun to play as possible. In return for your support, we've got to put you, the player, first. So if you want to play Days of War with us, or if you want to build Days of War with us, please back our Kickstarter. From all of us at Driven Arts, thank you.
And there you guys have the Kickstarter trailer for Days of War. What do you think there? I think that was very, very nice, especially the modding aspect. I was very surprised and pleased to see that. Let's put on the game slideshow again. 1 second. Let's bring in Kurohi as well, because he will be joining me now on TeamSpeak.
Sound resumed.
Kurohi, sorry to keep you muted there for a moment. What's that?
No worries.
So, what do you think? You know, have you been following the World War II scene in the near future? We've got Days of War. We have Battalion 1944. Gates of Hell as well. Have you seen that one?
I have seen some trailers. World War II is very, very intense. I think people love this kind of war because you have infantry, you have tanks, you have this kind of cool stuff. World War II is very exciting, I think, for the most players. And I think I will get one sec.
That's right. Yeah, I think it's a type of game genre that hasn't been touched properly for quite a few years. Now the game engines have updated a lot now, and because it's such a huge, it's World War. It's all over the world. There are so many different areas that you could pick. You could add DLC content for different missions, different map packs, different all over the world that you can set this game. There's so many factions as well.
Exactly.
And with these modern day shooters, you're playing as factions that are not relatable at all. You're either the terrorists or counter terrorists. Okay, can you relate to that? Not really. But if you're like World War II, you feel like national pride, though. I don't know about you, but when I play, I'm like, when I'm playing, I feel national pride. We, as the winning as the British or the Americans, I'm like, yeah, go out.
That is why you play Germans in War Thunder.
Yeah, I play the Germans. Yeah, no, I am a big fan. I don't know about you, but the Germans had the best uniform. Best looking armor in the entire, in World War II. I'm just going to say that right now.
Okay, no worries. I was just saying that. I think with the relation, I don't know if that's a thing, but I think that World War II is combining two things. When you think about World War One does not have, World War II is first of all you have different scenarios. You have Japanese against Americans. You can make jungle warfare here. You can make desert warfare if you think about Rommel. You can have the classic World War II Americans against Germans in France. So basically that is something what World War II is perfect. Of course one thing is very interesting and is maybe the airs things. So you can hop into an airplane. Of course, in World War I there were airplanes as well, but
there have been games that have done that in the past before. I remember playing even Medal of Honor Spearhead. I think one of the missions you jump out of an airplane, and that game's old. So they could definitely do it for these for these newer games. Definitely, I would really like to see that. And imagine the detail and the graphics. You know, as you would jump out of the plane, the FPS would go through the roof.
Yes.
Or the other way, depending on how the engine is run. Just want to give a shout out to Neglectus. How are you doing, dude? So people are saying, you know, from those two trailers that you guys saw of Days of War and Battalion 1944, both those games seem quite arcadey, right? They have, you know, the maps aren't big. You know, one of the maps that we know from Dare Defeat Source was in Days of War. I can't remember. It's not Donna. Was it Donna? I might be Dare Defeat Donna, that map. And you know, it's not a very big map. It's like a few alleyways and stuff. You know, it's not like a battlefield map where you've got huge armies. You know. So I'm thinking with these Battalion 1944 and as well as Days of War, we will not be seeing tank warfare. We will not be seeing planes or this kind of thing. Well, I don't know, and we probably won't even be seeing stuff like kill streaks either, because that just takes away the realism of it. But
of course.
It could happen if people want it, but you know, because they're both in Kickstarter and the devs are listening quite heavily to community feedback right now, so they possibly could do that. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, that's kind of the most basic question. How much the realism is, you know? But when you think like Battlefield games, what was awesome in Battlefield was that it was arcadic. You know, I was playing Battlefield 3 and 4, and it was just fun. That it was not realistic, in my opinion, because you were just running around and of course there was just the action was really great. Of course, on the other side, it would be really great if they make a World War II shooter where you have different like game modes, where you have like a realistic game mode or you have an arcade game mode. I think that would maybe be a good idea, but I don't know how much work that will be for the developers to make different game modes for shooters. I think that this question about arcade and thing is always that you have to think that there are different players. Yeah,
different types of players. Someone who like arcade and some that won't.
I mean, think about we have to think that, and that's kind of sad, that most shooter games, like when you think about Call of Duty and all that stuff, there's massive computer game players. You have how old are they? 12, 15, 16. Yeah. You know, so they want action. And there's the question for the developers. Of course, developers want to make money and they want to get the stuff. How realistic these games will be? That will be a massive question. It would be great, as I said, if they make game modes, but we will see.
Well, I think quite a few people within the forums that I've looked myself, people are asking for different game modes, and I think they did a list like a priority. I think Capture the Flag and Sabotage were one of the favourites. So I definitely will be seeing the same game modes that we're used to, even though it will be a different genre. But you know, and I'm fine with that. You know, but yeah, I'd like to see some kind of innovation, something that we haven't seen. You know, I mean, the Call of Duty franchise brought out Kill Confirmed, which was a fairly new concept in the last few years. That was like where you could collect someone's dog tags and you would get points rather than just kill somebody. That was a different type of game mode. But even then, even that was kind of, you know, like cheap and not really that, you know. All it was collecting someone's dog tags, and that was it, rather than that being the only difference from like a team deathmatch. But you know, if they could do something a bit different, like I don't know, kind of you know, for the Battlefield, you would have proper I think it was conquest mode, where you would have the defenders would have lots of different series of defensible locations, and the attacking would have a certain amount of resources and keep on trying to break through these certain waves. And as they did so, that the map would be pushed further and further back. And I really enjoyed playing that. But with these Battalion games, you know, they look, like I said, the maps are quite small, so I don't think we'll be seeing that. But if the new Battlefield 5 called Eastern Front, which makes me think it's going to be, I don't know, what do you think about that, Craig? Do you think that's going to be...
I just wanted to ask you about that. Is it confirmed, Eastern Front? Is that the name of the game?
Yes, it's confirmed it's Eastern Front. And there has been some, like, I've got actually some more images, so let me just share them with the chat.
Please, I'm watching... Sorry guys, yes, I have 2 parrots. You will hear them all the time. I'm sorry about that, guys.
Okay, so here we go. this is one of the leaked images, and it lists the DLC content. We don't know if this is 100% true. This could be false information, so we're just speculating at the moment. But the reason why a lot of people do think this is real, this has been leaked on Reddit, by the way, is the detail and the depth on which these DLC packs are listed. Now, if we look closely at these pictures here, we can see that one of the second DLC is called Fallen Dragon, I believe. Now that makes me think Chinese. I don't know about you. So that makes me think possibly not World War II, because I mean they could go. There was obviously Chinese versus the Japanese, so that'd be really cool to see. But I think that might be something to do with
There was there's a website called GameStar.de. It's a German video gaming website where you get reviews and a lot of discussions. And I think yesterday I was watching a video from these two guys, and the two guys are discussing, and they have an information which they're not saying which source. That this source is saying that Battlefield 5 will be in World War I.
Yes, I heard that. That has been a rumor for a while now, and I think there was some leak, or I don't know if they were leaked or they were just, fan-made art saying it was leaked. But that also was quite convincing. Though, again, with the World War One, I'm not sure how they could do it, because again, the armored warfare is very limited. The tanks are very slow, so I'm not sure that would be much fun to play in general.
And the question with the trenches.
Yeah, and you've only got trench combat. I mean, that obviously wasn't just all of the World War One trench combat, but it is a big part, and I don't know how much depth there could
but
be.
There is a shooter called Verdun. I've never seen it, and I've never played it.
Verdun is a World War One shooter that has got continuous updates to it as well, which we're not featuring today. But that's a game I haven't tried myself, but it seems to be fairly well made, and but I don't see it to be that competitive.
I would like to ask the chat, guys. Maybe make question: do you want for Battlefield 5 more World War I or World War II? That would be what would you think? What's the thing what you want for Battlefield 5? World War I or World War II, or something completely different? Something like Modern Warfare again, like Battlefield 3 or 4. Let's see. Okay,
well, I think
our
chat would be quite biased because we do have
only World War II. Okay, I see.
World War II is everywhere, but it would be nice. I think World War I would be nice because we've not really seen that. Yes, there is that Verdun game out there, but it's not big and it's not that popular. It's just a small game that only would know about if you were looking for it, to be honest. But yeah, we could possibly get a straw poll going to see what the chat would like to, see.
Yeah, that would be fun. I would like to see. I guess World War II will win definitely, but still, maybe how many people are guys think about something like World War I would be fun. It would be completely something new. But I must say as well, World War II, I would vote for World War II as well. But maybe. Cold War. Yeah, Cold War, of course. Cold War would be
nice. Cool. That would be very interesting. I would like to see something like Operation Unthinkable, kicking off from that, if you know what that is. Where, if people in chat don't know what that is, Operation Unthinkable was a plan devised by Churchill, and it was that they would launch, the Allies, the Americans and the British, would launch an offensive against the Russians at the end of World War II, around the time it ended. It never went ahead. And obviously for quite obvious reasons, because it probably wouldn't have been ended very well. But that was an idea. But imagine that, alternate reality. That would be very cool to see. But if they did a campaign around that, I think the developers would have to be very cautious in how they would approach it, because they don't want to anger. If you made really Western biased, then that's just going to anger the Russians, and then vice versa. If you made it Russian, and that's very unlikely anyway.
Yeah, but I think it happened to CO2 as well. I think the CO2 campaign was pretty criticized in Russia because of the because of this situation that Russian soldiers were shot because they were leaving their guards, and of course this is bullshit. But yeah, it's of course the Western propaganda, how we think how the Red Army was dealing and everything. Yeah, of course. I mean. I was once I'm a historian, and I was once interviewing a World War II veteran, and I was interviewing him, and he was British, by the way, and I was interviewing him, and after the interview we were just chatting, and in the end I was telling him, yeah, there are many games about World War II and movies and everything, and he was really depressed by that people are playing World War II, which he experienced, and I tried to make him sure that I play these games, and I make him sure that I have the deepest respect, and that I don't want anything like World War II, World War I ever happen again, and it's more of a, yeah, how should I say this? Nostalgic, I would say, a little bit. Isn't it a little bit nostalgic that we still think how awesome it would be fighting in France? No, it wouldn't be, of course, but yeah, of course, this is always a problem.
It's a point in history that it was, for me personally, it's why it's one of my, key points of interest in my hobby to learn about World War II history, because if the Axis had won the war, today would be so much different. What we know and live and breathe today would just be totally different, in my opinion. And that's why I think it's so much more important than all these modern warfare wars against terrorists and counter-terrorists. There's always going to be terrorists, there's always going to be counter-terrorists. It's not that significant in terms of the big picture. There's always going to be this thing happen, and lots of these things like Modern Warfare 2 and all these things are made up. Paris falling, there's what was it, the Eiffel Tower fell down in one of the missions or something. You had other stupid things happening. At least with World War II we can relate to it. It was history, it's facts, it's something we can feel like we are part of it, because that history is what made us. And maybe a part of us why we love World War II games so much is that we feel like we are honouring the generation that fought in it by continuing on playing in it, saying like, we're not forgetting about you. We appreciate how important this conflict is, and it should be.
It's really important that we are thinking this this is just a game, and we are not interfering, and we're as I said, it's really important that we hopefully are all peaceful and say, okay, this is just games, and we like to play these games, but yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah. But of course, I still love War Thunder. I'm still so happy with my tanks, and I understand everything. What do you mean? Yeah. Do we have any release dates of Battalion 1944, by the way?
Well, so for Battalion Days of War, I know it is this year. Gates of War is the first quarter of this year. We haven't shown the trailer of Gates of Hell. Sorry. That is a RTS game. So the other games we've been talking about are all FPS. Gates of War is like a spiritual successor to the Men of War series, which people who like Company Heroes 2 and Men of War will be interested in. So we're going to show the trailer in a minute. But yeah, definitely. 1 second, let me just get this poll going and put it in chat.
No worries. I have told you about this game, Hearts of Iron 4, right? And you have seen it, I think, once a stream or something.
Yes, Hearts of Iron 4 is also a new game coming out in the near future as well.
Yes, it's coming out in beginning of June. So this game is also very interesting. It's a global strategy. And I think most of the fun thing is, of course, you can play, of course, Germany, you can play Russia, you can play Americans, but you can play also little countries, like you can play Sweden or whatever, like countries who were not really important, but you can try. You can play Sweden as World War II, and you can conquer the world if you want to.
That's quite nice, because unlike other World War II games, you play as factions or nations that don't have a big say in the normal say of things when it comes to World War II games, because it's normally like the US versus Nazi Germany, or the Russians versus Nazi Germany, or the British as well. You don't really ever have the Finns ever being mentioned, or the Chinese for some reason. Considering how much they fought, and they fought for longer than everybody else from 1937. And it's a shame that we don't see these sides of the war. So, and like I said, these are conflicts that haven't been covered yet in games, which could be great to see. I would love a Chinese, Japanese, what's the word I'm looking for? Pacific. No, it's not Pacific War. There's a specific term for the Asia. The Chinese versus the Japanese conflict. But that one anyway. That conflict.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And also, Adam. Sorry to interrupt you. Adam, is something that is what I've been banging on for ages. We haven't seen a campaign really from the German perspective. That would be amazing. Or the Japanese perspective. You don't think the Axis in general, you just don't see that. There is Red Option 2, and you can play as the Germans, as do a German campaign, but it's not really a story-driven game. It's like, okay, here's a German, you're a German in the army, and then you just got to go conquer. Just do a map. It doesn't feel personal. And you can do it right. There have been films in the past like Mother, Father, what was it? What's a it, Curry? What is it?
I think I know.
Our Fathers and Our Mothers. That film by made in Germany follows the story of World War II German soldiers in Russia, and it's amazing to see there's a perspective from their side of the war, and you could. I definitely think you could do it in a game campaign as well, and it'd be very interesting to see that perspective because at the end of the day, the SS and other small minorities of the Wehrmacht forces were committing these war crimes. A lot of the men were just doing what they thought was right for Germany, and they weren't committing these crimes. And it's horrible that the entirety of the Wehrmacht is plastered as war crime criminals when it simply wasn't true. And this film illustrates that because you've got German officers and German soldiers that just don't want to comply with this Nazi propaganda and these Nazi war crimes. So it'd be amazing to see a campaign from this perspective, and that would honour those fallen from of the German army that that unfortunately were on the wrong side of the war and were just trying to do what they thought was right for their country.
Well, you're discussing now with a historian and stuff. Anyway, let's skip that. A campaign from the German side would be awesome. I completely support that. But it has to be done very well. It has to be
incredibly careful.
Yes, and you have to be very, very careful. Not
I think that's why no one wants to touch it because they know that it's going to be difficult to do.
It would be very difficult, and I don't think in the next years, still World War II is still very politically and everything. So we still have to be very careful about that. But of course, it could be done. The thing is, of course, the really problem is to make a game saying like, okay, German soldiers, not all of them were war criminals, but on the other side, oh yeah, the Wehrmacht was only a normal army, because they were not a normal army. They were, of course, inflected in war crimes. Was it correct?
It's a very sensitive area.
It's a very sensitive thing. Yeah.
But it would be nice to see, and interesting to see. But yes, like we say, because it's so sensitive. This is probably why we've not seen it. But I would love to see somebody.
I think the big problem. The big problem is that in World War II, I think there's still the good versus the evil thing in our minds. So this is, I think, one of the problems. The first war ever in history where the thing was discussed, who is guilty, who started the war, was the World War I. There was a big discussion in the 60s in Germany and in Europe called the Fischer debate, because a German historian was saying Germans were guilty of the World War I, and there were a lot of discussions about this. And like when you think about, nobody thinks about Napoleon or anyone about Napoleon as a war criminal. Well, of course,
that's the thing. That history is written by the victors, and the British were the first ones to invent the concentration camp. With the Boer War and thousands died of starvation there. Yet you don't hear about that in the history. I know we're going off topic, but
that's
that's one of the reasons why you just don't see.
That's a very complicated thing. One just saying, because a lot of people are saying this argument about concentration camps. Let me just say this once clear. Yes, the British invented the concentration camps, but there were camps for normal people, and why people died in those camps were of hygienic problems. but the German concentration camps were built so people were dying. So they were go into these camps and those people should die. You know, so there's a big difference.
Yeah.
Okay, I just said it now. I will shut up again. I'm just saying. Yeah, so in my perspective, a World War II campaign from the German side would be possible, it would be great, it would be interesting, but I think we won't see it because no game director, everyone will say, why shall we make it? Others say, let's make another American campaign, it's easy and we can do it easier. So I don't think we will see it in the next future, but maybe we will see it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think, well, in my opinion personally, I think there will be somebody in the future that will have the guts to pull that off, and they would have to do it. Like I say, we have to do it perfectly. But I think it's an uncharted territory in my opinion, and people, you've got TV programs out there like now are really offensive. I don't know, stuff like South Park and other TV shows which are incredibly racist, sexist, and derogatory, and hateful to lots of races and religions or whatever, and they can get away with it because they're just a TV show. Obviously, with World War II, it's a bit more touchy subject. But as the years go on, and the more distant the memories become, I think it will be covered. So yeah, I don't know, but might be able to see it.
Yeah. I've heard a very fun discussion is going on now about Witcher 3. By the way, have you heard it? I mean, it's now a completely different thing. I don't want to think, but do you think that Witcher 3 is a sexist game?
I played a little bit of it.
Because
considering it's from a man's perspective, if it was from a woman's perspective, then the majority. Okay, you play one of the female characters for a little bit, but I don't know. Yes, there is a lot of showing off in that regard, but from the amount of time I played, I just felt it was a fantasy Slayer type of game. I'm not really one to follow it, but I don't think it was that sexist at all, really, when I think about it.
Yeah, it's interesting. Would you play a Witcher 3 game as a woman, like a female Witcher?
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. It's an interesting question.
Honestly, why not? I'm not sure what this is going to do with World War II games.
Yes, sorry. Yeah, okay. No, we skip it. Okay. It's just that I just thought about this just at the moment.
Right.
Yeah, World War II games.
So I just quickly ask the chat, what do you guys think about Battlefield 5 being set on the Eastern Front? That it definitely could happen. They hopefully there are some signs that a teaser will be shown next week or the week after that. Considering how much has been leaked from it, it's building up. I think definitely at E3. When's that? God, I should do my research. But yeah, I think E3 is soon, possibly June. I think it is.
June, yeah.
That's when they normally would announce a new game, and it's coming up to June now. Teaser time would be normally a month before that, so maybe you might see it. Right. Gingers don't have souls. Yes, Vital. That is, South Park is yeah, you can say that's a bit racist. Like we're talking, we're saying that these types of shows can say these kinds of things, but it's they should take it for a laugh. But if you do something about Nazi Germany, it's like normally it's too far. There you go. Show hours. EA is scheduled to take place between June and
Adam
14th
just said
and
it's
16th.
E3 is scheduled to take place June 14th to 16th. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's like we say, Corman saying the British strategic campaign was a war crime in itself. Yes, you've got the bombing of Dresden and all these things that would obviously kill. When the British knew they were going to drop those bombs, they knew they would kill hundreds of thousands of citizens and stuff, and but they just went out along with it. That, you know, yeah, could be considered a war crime. The war crime of dropping the nuclear bombs on Japan, you know, definitely they can be considered war crimes. That, you know, because, you know, Japanese might have surrendered before the bombs were dropped. You know, their position became untenable. Would they have really fought for the last man? You know, was the second bomb necessary? Was the first necessary? You know, these are all questions up for a bit of debate, but we won't get into that. But, you know, the point of the matter is, you know, all these war crimes and that might be considered war crimes, you know, aren't really talked about in those World War II games. And then they're glossed over because the winners are going to talk. The winners of history, that write the history, are going to be talking about other things. So you don't ever see about campaigns where you're the guy that drops the bomb or whatever. They never do that. So if they do the same, and therefore, so why can't they do the same for like a German campaign, right? You know, you don't even have to talk about the Nazi war crime aspect, or would not talking about it be a problem? You know, would that be shining? That would be, you know, something that you shouldn't do. You know, that's a very interesting thing. I mean, can you go do a German campaign without even referring to the Nazi war crimes? Could you just be like a soldier and you could just go through Russia without even seeing any of it? I doubt it. You might have to include it. Yes, but if you're dropping bombs, Glorious, that's, you know, in COD 1. That's probably to deal with killing like strategic locations on a map. Not, you know, the focus is in destroying a critical objective. That you wouldn't ever be seen dropping a bomb on Hiroshima because that's like a, you know, a city. You know, that's obviously going to kill a lot of people, right? But dropping a bomb on like a factory is more, you know, it's less about the human cost and more about like the strategical cost, and therefore it's okay, you know, in developers' minds to do something like that. But yeah, this is a very touchy subject, and you know, we don't want to offend anybody, but you know, and that's the risk of developers. They've got to tread a fine line when it comes to this kind of thing. But yeah. So let's go over to the next video of the Gates of War. So we're just going to switch over to that video now. You guys can check out this video. Here we go. Gates of Hell, sorry. Calling it wrong. And here we go.
Some people say war is like hell. Some claim the world learned from the Great War. That there would never be any conflict capable of surpassing such horrors. That no greater battles were achieved. Someone said Germany would never rise from its ashes. That the airplane would have no use in the modern war. The Maginot Line, the Royal Navy, considered unbreachable, impregnable. Others mentioned that the new war would be over by Christmas. Which Christmas? They're all wrong. The cloak of death and destruction spreads like the jaws of the devil. The lightning war. War is not something that resembles hell. It is hell itself, and it's time to put an end to it.
there you guys have Gates of Hell. Now, my personal opinion on that game, from the trailer at least, was that they need a better voice actor to do that. And, you know, I'm not sure what their message was, and their artwork and the way they presented it wasn't that great. But, you know, it's a spiritual...
awesome game. It looks really cool.
Yeah, I'm not sure, in my opinion, but we can talk a bit about that now. So the game, the graphics itself look okay. You know, compared to something like Company Heroes 2, you know, I think Koji's still got better graphics. But we look at the, you know, but there's a little bit more depth there. I mean, we saw like guys crawling with medics. We saw a guy, you know, a Scottish guy with bagpipes. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
There's like, and you know, there's some other things there. You saw like a Soviet guy carrying a flag. So there's a lot more depth there, you know, from seeing those little few snippets than there is with Company Heroes 2, because you have those other aspects, which is really cool to see. But yes, it is, like Fedora says, it looked very laggy, but it was, it's not, it is on green light. It's not released yet. You know, it's not a big budget game. So don't expect the world from it, but it, you know, it doesn't look too bad, and it's something I'll definitely be checking out in the future. But you know, from the gameplay itself, I wasn't too impressed.
Well, I think it's hard to make an RTS game. I think because you just have to think about so many stuff. So I guess never expect too much.
Yeah. Yeah, it looked like it was the okay. So you had the British, you had the I think there was definitely the Soviets in there, the Germans, you know, the sort of T-34 for the Russians. I'm not sure about the Japanese, but with a Men of War game, if it was a spiritual successor to the Men of War series, then yes, they did. That game did have the Japanese in it, so I'd probably assume that they would also include the Japanese as well. And I think we even saw like a naval battalion, or you know, not battalion, a naval squadron or whatever, like 4 dudes that were on some ice as well. And there was the, you know, again, maybe something they've taken out of Company Heroes 2 with the ice, you know, being able to sink on ice. That'd be very cool. But we don't know. We couldn't tell that much from the trailer, but it did look, you know, looked
it looks
okay,
interesting.
But,
the big question will be, of course. Yeah, the big question, of course, will be how much of a multiplayer thing it will be. If it's just a single player game, or if there will be really a competitive code too. Yeah, that's the big question.
Yes, I think, you know, with all these small green light games, they have potential, but I don't know if they would go big. You know, something maybe like Battalion 1944, I think, is the potential to go massive. You know, because it has the big budget out of all those games. And if Battlefield 5 is World War II, then that one will be the daddy. But you know, if it doesn't turn out to be World War II set, it's probably going to be Battalion, because like I said, it does have that over $300,000 was it, or pounds? Just check. Pounds is pounds, so that's a lot of money. So it has so 317,000, and also furthermore, the guys at Battalion, the Bulkhead Interactive guys, who are the guys who create the game, they will be announcing another time for people who missed the Kickstarter to continue to donate and to get the alpha. At a later date, and therefore that, you know, they'll. So I think, and a lot because they've decided to do that because there was a lot of people asking, "Oh, we missed the deadline." So there's even more to be donated in and supported to Battalion, and that's very nice. Is well, good news to hear, because you know, there's more money into the game, more people want to see it. You know, and like I say, from the trailers that we saw of Battalion. You know, I was very impressed. It seemed quite nice. The graphics were amazing. You know, and I have every hope that this game will be, you know, the next big FPS shooter that's not, you know, Call of Duty or Battlefield. So yeah.
Yep. Yeah, it's always it's always important to also to think about after the first hype of the game, what the developers can produce. Like if you think about Star Wars Battlefront, I mean, I don't think that many people are playing this game. I have played it like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and the hype is gone. You know,
Yeah.
so
That's the thing.
that's a really big issue.
One of the big oh yeah, that's another good point to talk about. So with Battalion, they're focusing on more of like the kind of the grassroots kind of thing, where it's, you know, we really want to take on board feedback from players. Then that feedback is going to go into the game. We're going to change it. And then the DLC, they're going to have like a DLC content with that, but you know, within reason. But then we look at a game like Battlefront. You know, the audio is there, the graphics is there, but that's pretty much it. There's not hardly any guns to choose from. There's lots of cheap, corny game modes. You know, and it just doesn't feel, you know, all there. It feels like a cheap, you know, a very cheap game, and then they're just like milking the DLCs like every other month. Okay, here's another DLC for Battlefront, you know, and you know, with the new hero mods and this kind of thing. And it's like, well, we already paid like 60 quid to buy the game or pre-order the game, and also again, pre-orders is a problem. Same thing with Total War Warhammer. You know, you got to pre-order to get the Chaos Warriors. Battlefront, you had to pre-order to get unlock the first DLC set, as well as like a few guns and weapons. And one of the guns, I remember one of the blasters would only unlock for you if you played it, if you bought the game, just the standard game, at like one of the highest levels, like around about the 45 level or whatever it was. So you'd have to grind a lot of the way, whereas people who pre-ordered immediately had the overpowered gun, so that annoyed loads of people. You know, and now with this, and also the pay to win has also been surrounding a lot of games. You can talk about Heroes and Generals. That game has got paid to win surrounding that because of you know, you got to pay to unlock to get up to higher. You know, you pay extra money, you can get into a tank and blow people up, and that's not fun for people. They just have to grind their way up, and you know, I tried to play Heroes and Generals, and I enjoyed it for the time that I played it. But then I was like, all right, I'm getting blown up, and I can't counter someone else in a tank because I can't get in a tank myself. You know, or if I try to get close, I'm going to get killed before I can fire my Panzer Shrek or Panzer Zukov. You know, Zukharov. So that was very frustrating. But with Battalion, we have you know, they you know, instead of like pay to win content, they offer people to pay to accessorize kind of thing, pay to look cooler, you know, something that does not have an implication for the game balance, which I love. You know, you can buy to have an engraving on your rifle. That's pretty goddamn cool. And also like legit, something that's legit and something that doesn't take away out the realism. What do you think of that, Great?
You were talking out a lot. So,
yeah, sorry.
No worries. Of course, pay to win is always a big problem for games. Especially, I've never played Heroes and Generals, so I cannot really discuss about that stuff. But yeah, the basic question about any video game at the moment is DLC policy. There are people who are just raging against the time of what we are experiencing at the moment, because DLCs are like important things and everything. In my opinion, I want to pay for quality. So if a DLC is good and if it makes the game more playable and it makes more interesting, then I'm okay for paying for it. But of course, the most big problem, of course, is always if the developers are saying, okay, we give something out and we want money from it, then it has to be strong, because otherwise people won't buy it. Would you pay 5 or 10 euros or whatever pounds for something that does not give you any benefit? I guess not. So that's always the big problem. I don't know if there is a big or good solution to this pay to win problem at the moment.
But
I have no idea.
The thing that, like, you know, I think I would, you know, if I enjoyed the game and I want to, you know, the reason why I keep playing the game, I mean, for instance, like we can look at Company Heroes 2, right? A lot of the game, you know, new commanders come out, and a lot of the time they're overpowered. Now, that makes people think the game is pay to win, which it, you know, when it is seen like that, it is. But the idea is that new commanders add variety to the game, and they aren't necessarily needed to win, to, you know, to be able to to give you an advantage against your opponent. And that is a problem. If the commanders came out and they were fine and they were balanced, then it wouldn't have the pay to win aspect. But that's a problem that Reddit need to sort out, and that's that they've had a problem for a while. And the same thing with other games and their content they come out. Make sure that when new guns come out onto the scene, make sure they're balanced. They don't have any overpower. Test them thoroughly. A lot of things that I don't see lately as game developers testing their new content thoroughly. They just release it and go like, oh well, and a lot of the reason why they don't want to, which might be a bit scandalous, is that they don't do it because they want people to buy the content because they know it's OP, and then they balance it later. People want to be able to have an edge, and that's why which is not what we want. And then hopefully game developers don't do that, but that is a worry.
Yeah, it's a big worry. I know. Yeah. Rogers have joined the chat and he's talking a lot of stuff there.
Get an ace round, you get 200 per time.
He talks about Rainbow Six Siege. Well, basically that's another game. I think, Hans, there were some questions in chat you might answer.
Yep.
Think there was a question like, would you think World War I, World War II as a total war game?
So yes, so for the total, I think definitely not. Total War. It's more of a historical huge army fantasy melee kind of clash kind of game. I mean, they did with Empire Total War they had guns, and with the Shogun they also had Shogun 2, the DLC for that, whatever it was called, I forgot, it escapes me, but that game also had guns as well.
Whatever, yeah, I know what you mean, yeah.
But I don't think they could really, because the idea of Total War is grand scale battles, and in World War II games and World War I games, it's more of like individual squads and this kind of thing. And that's why Code 2 and like Men of War maybe shine, because it's more individual based. I don't really, I can't really see. It would be cool. Don't get me wrong, I would like to see it, but I don't know how they would do it. Trench combat.
Same, yeah.
People would be, like big armies in trenches, and then they would all, in World War I, rise and try and charge across the battlefront. I'm not sure if there's much. And then you got tanks as well. They got the big tank combat. There's so many different tanks to choose from. Which ones would you choose? How would you, I mean, they, in Total Warhammer they have magical users now, and like big creatures like the trolls or the big giant spider thing that I've seen, and big monsters. So they could, if you imagine that being like tanks instead in like a World War II game, that could kind of work. But I'm really not sure how they would do that. But I definitely would like to see it. But I won't. The reason why I don't think it'll happen is because, like I say, Total War is all about grand scale battles, and with Code, it's more individual based than squad based. You don't really have that grand scale in those World War II games.
It's a big question. I would like to ask you, Hans, do you pre-purchase? Or do you never do that? Do you pre-purchase, I think is the name in English? Like if a game comes... Pre-purchase, I think is the name, yes, sorry.
If I okay, so with Battlefront, I pre-purchased it because I was, I've been waiting for it.
Okay.
I was on the hype train with that game because people was, I remember playing the old Battlefront games and being really excited. I was like, oh yeah, and I looked at the graphics, looked at the trailers, and thought, dude, this graphics looks amazing. And when I was playing it, I enjoyed it for the amount of time I did play it. But then I was like, that's all it is. It wasn't something that kept me into the game, which was a shame. And there wasn't like a campaign with it either. If there was a campaign, I would have been like, okay, yeah, my money was well spent. But there was no campaign, which is really shit. I think a lot of people hated it because there was no campaign. But yeah. And so now, whenever there's a pre-order, I'm always cautious because I want to, I don't want to waste all my money. I want to hear the reviews. I know, with when like Rome 2 came out, I was like, no, I'm not pre-ordering that game. I'm going to wait till the reviews came out. And thankfully, I did, because it turned out to be a right old mess, that game, when it first came out. So I'm glad I didn't waste all my money into that game. But yeah, definitely, unless I'm confident. And it's not like a big developer that generally screws people over, like Call of Duty. Was it Activision and with their DLC content, like their 3 DLC packages every quarter for their game. Then yeah, I'm not going to be doing it. Though what I have seen that they have done, which was quite nice from Black Ops guys, that they were doing a special kind of deal where you could get into just the multiplayer for a cheaper price than and not have the single player campaign access, which was good because then it would encourage people to get into the campaign, the multiplayer, without having to pay a big fee, which was a good idea, and I hope they continue that. That was nice. But yeah, let's hope that more developers follow that lead. So yeah, people can play multiplayer if they just want to play multiplayer, and maybe a deal, maybe just like a separate game for the campaign or something. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, there was zero. Yeah, Sam saying people hated it because there was zero, which is true. Because there was like what, I don't know how many. There was like less than 10 guns in the entire game, pretty much for Battlefront. There wasn't many. You know, I might be wrong on that number, but I know there wasn't many, and that was really shocking. I was like, right, I'm playing a Battlefront game. There are loads of different factions in Battlefront. Right, there's only Stormtroopers versus the Rebels. Okay, what happened to being able to be a droid? You know, what was it? You know, those droid things that would run around. You know, where's the variety? You know, so yeah. Anyway, it's getting off topic of the World War II comeback thing, but it was a shame. And basically, that's just a warning not to pre-order, games anymore, really. Unless you really like the developer, and you trust the developer, then yeah, I wouldn't. That being said, I have backed Days of War because I've been waiting for a World War II game forever to come back out, and actually the beta for Days of War has been released yesterday, I believe. It came out. The alpha came out yesterday. So if you have paid the alpha up to the alpha on the Kickstarter for Days of War, check your email. You'll probably got a code that you can activate on Steam and play it right away. You can play it right now if you have done so. But yeah, don't be surprised when the game is buggy and this, that, and the other, because it will be. It's alpha. Take it with a pinch of salt. It's under NDA, and I have played it myself, but I can't say anything because I don't want to get banned from it or whatever. But yeah, I'm just saying you can play it now if you have done the Kickstarter. Have you backed it already? So in the Sam's talk about Hearts of Iron 4. Now, Hearts of Iron 4 is like Sam's saying, it's a very niche market. It's very, it's all it is. It's like playing Total War, but from top-down perspective on that big strategical map, 24/7. You don't go into the battle at all. It's very, and a lot of those kinds of games, yes, are very niche. People like to be in kind of real-time strategy, and it's it's there and there. It's happening. It's not turn-based. Whereas this type of game is kind of slow, steady, more economy based. It's very niche and it's quite difficult to master. So I think it would, it's still going to help the World War II comeback, this Hearts of Iron 4 game, but it's not going to be a big one. It's going to be for that niche market and only. But if you like that kind of thing, I think it's going to be good. From what I've seen, it looks good. I'm going to possibly be getting it if once I look into it more. But I have looked at the developer videos, a couple of them, and it does look quite good and quite detailed. But it's it's very it's for a select audience. So yeah, I would definitely look into it before buying it, as with all games, obviously. Right, guys, I think we'll end it there. We've already got, I kind of want to make these sessions be an hour maximum, and we've already gone over to an hour and 18 sessions, but there you go. I hope you enjoyed the first episode of the World War II comeback. Well, this one will be, of
big problem with Hearts of Iron 4 will be the bugs. The bugs, yes. if they cancel the bugs, then it will be a good game. I think the game is completely finished, but they still have problems deleting all the bugs because, the AI has to do so much.
Yeah. Cool. Right, I'm going to finish off now. So thank you, Kurohi, for joining me. Sorry, this is very impromptu, and this is like a testing episode anyway. I'm going to try and see if what the reaction is and organise this a bit better later on. But yeah, this is the first episode of the Salt Mine Gaming Chat Show with me, your host, Helping Hands, and with special guests. This week it was Kurohi, who kindly spared his time to join us today and give us his opinions and thoughts on these new upcoming World War II shooters and RTS games. Next week I will be talking about the Warhammer games. What new Warhammer games, both fantasy and 40k. So we'll be discussing those types of games. Hopefully it'll be a little bit more I know what I'm doing next time. But yeah, it's kind of an idea. See what we see what we can do, and yeah, just a nice discussion about things that matter to us, because there's a lot of chat shows out there right now that are talking about MMOs, MOBAs, FPS games. I know this was a chat about FPS games, but more of a niche market, like the World War II games. But yeah, so that's what we're doing. Anyway, so thank you guys for watching. I'm going to stop this now and play some Company Heroes 2 with Talisman, I think now. So thank you, and I'll be back very quickly after this is now finished. See you in a second. Bye.